Pets of the Apocalypse are different. I did a little community vote, and the winner of that was, by a long way, Pets of the Apocalypse. So in today's episode, I thought, let's do a little bit of a fun episode where we look around what pets might be like in a world where things aren't so normal. A tier list of pets, yes. A YouTuber tier list. Let's go through it. First up, the Dillo-Pig. A rodent that is native to the Unbroken Kingdom, and so far only the Unbroken Kingdom. It's cute in the apocalypse. Not cute in the normal world, but it's probably what some would say is pet-like. Now the bonus of this guy is it eats bugs and rodents, and is quite a dominant rodent. Overall, it's an animal that isn't aggressive, that has some armor, and if all goes wrong, you could just eat it as a snack, because it is, in the world, a snack. I would say this is more of a cute pet rather than a useful pet, that's for sure. So, with all that being said, they're not the most useful pet, and for that reason, I think they're not a nuisance, but they're not brilliant. So sadly, as cute as they are, in my opinion, it's only going to be a C for these guys. Not brilliant, not special, but also not dangerous, not harmful, and maybe just more of a kind of cute pet. Next up is the sleeper frog, residing in marshlands and areas not often met by humans. These kind of mutated frogs are called that for the fact that they have no eyes, and the joke is that they're always sleeping. They are not the most useful creature, and they're definitely not the friendliest creature to have as a pet, as they are poisonous and therefore not able to be picked up via hand. Now, that being said, frog poison doesn't really work as people imagine. For the most part, it doesn't mean if you touch it you die. It's just rather that you shouldn't go around picking up things that are bright colors in the wild. I'm not sure if this pet has many pros. Sadly, it isn't the most useful pet, and it's, in fact, kind of more of a nuisance. You could argue maybe it's easy to keep to make a good food source, but it's not really something you would love. And as much as I love frogs, I don't really see many pros with this other than maybe the poison could be useful in some form of crafting. So, sadly, I don't think it's going to score high. For that reason, I'm going to sadly have to say, as much as I love frogs, and I do, this is a D. It's more of a nuisance, and to be quite honest, it's not got many upsides in my eyes, unless someone in the comments can think of something really clever. Next up is one of my favorite creatures in Barren, and that is the Roughback. Now, I have been redesigning this guy because I didn't like my use of photo bashing before, and I thought some of it was very cheap, so I changed it about, and I'm actually going through a lot of my older pieces and thinking of redesigning and making a whole video about that, and how I used to rush things and try to make too much art rather than making quality. That being said, the Roughback is a bizarre lizard that is almost made to blend in with rocks. They are called boulders by people, and locals often make jokes about how they stand out like a sore thumb because they travel to mating grounds, and when they're not on a mountain, they're quite obvious to spot. The plus side with these guys is they're huge, strong, and poisonous. The downside is I don't know how on earth you tame one. So, the pros would be, it would be useful in combat, it has armor, it's extremely strong, it could carry things. The cons being, trying to tame one might be the end of you, and what the fuck do you feed it? I mean, I'm not sure how much food it needs. it probably could get its own food. But it's kind of an interesting pet because I'm not really sure. It's kind of how Mike Tyson had tigers. Now, certain people can own tigers, but not everyone's Mike Tyson. Do you get what I'm saying? Are you Mike Tyson in this world? Maybe not. For that reason, I think this will be the first addition to B. If you manage to tame one, they're brilliant. But to do that would be extremely difficult. So credit to you if you manage that. Next up is the Redtip Caris, the English monkey, as it's called by locals, and one of my favorite pieces, as I love monkeys, if that's not obvious, by all the monkey branding. That being said, would this be a useful pet? I'm not sure. They're quite ugly, and not many locals like them. They're often hunted because they're easy to spot at night due to their bright eyes that glow. And I'm not really sure what use they'd be other than one I thought of when I was making this video. And that is, they make a noise and are a great lookout. They sit in trees high up, looking around, kind of marking a location. Now, how would you train that? I'm not sure, but monkeys are intelligent, so maybe it's possible. If you could train that, they could be extremely useful as a lookout. That being said, they also kind of give you away if you just have a monkey that has glowing eyes sitting up in a tree. Kind of like bush babies. When I was growing up, they look awesome, but you can see them a mile off. The upside is, if you do manage to tame one, you could maybe, hypothetically, have a group of 5 to 10 of these, and then maybe that'd be a pretty damn cool pet troop, because, I mean, that's kind of terrifying. Sadly, our friend here is not the most useful pet, as much as I wish he was. And for that reason, I'm going to have to sadly say that he is another addition to the C tier. Not that great. Next up is probably one of the best possible pets currently in the game. Now, all these animals in this video are wild, as it is an apocalyptic world. And I don't want to just include a dog or a cat. But goldwings are one of the few creatures in Barren and in the Unbroken Kingdom that are protected by the government. The reason there's a stigma around shooting these is because they actually serve a purpose that's very useful, and that is that they kill disease-ridden pests or things that carry the bad diseases within city limits. They sit up in lights and cover themselves, and the reason for their yellow wings is that at night they imitate a lamp, and when something comes through the road, they spot them, they drop down, they catch, and they eat. This is a big if, but if you could train them to do that for you, that would be the easiest source of food ever, because all you have to do is sit around and wait for them to catch something. The downside is, eating things that have diseases is a bad way to go. Now, if you cook it proper, it might taste like shit, but it's still food. The other upside is having any sort of pet that can fly and follows your command is super useful, as seen by birds that can send messages and all sorts like that. For this reason, I'm gonna have to say that if you manage to tame one and you could use it, goldwings would absolutely be a contender for S tier. But I'm going to stick them at A tier because the chances are that's very difficult. And also you might run into some issues with certain cities judging you or looking down upon you having these as pets, as they're more meant to just be left alone. And that's kind of the way the government that's currently set up promotes it. Next up is the bonehen, the most commonly farmed thing in the Unbroken Kingdom, and essentially the modern day chicken. They have adapted to survive and deal with heat waves using essentially these spines to release heat. They are extremely cool looking and one of my favorite designs that I've ever done. and they're extremely useful. Now, some people might say that this isn't a pet, it's more of a produce, or, a farmer might own a chicken, but it's not really a pet. I would say you're right, but also some people love chickens, some people keep chickens as pets, so I'm going to put them in this list. As a pet, you can't get much better than a chicken. In combat, they can be deadly, as chickens can be brutal, but most likely you'd have this as something that would lay eggs for you, and while the egg laying might not be nearly as consistent as it would have been pre-war, they don't lay multiple eggs a day, for example. They, if fed right, give you a constant source of food, and if they get old, they give you another source of food. Now, I don't know what their personalities are like, but judging on how some chickens are, they might be a nuisance, or they might be lovely. Because it seems like chickens are kind of mad. Alongside all of this, they are viewed or spoken about in a positive way, with posters around about them being very important in the government's eyes, which I guess could lean in your favor, as having a pet that is supported might mean less people are willing to kill it. That being said, it is an apocalypse, and just because someone says these are the rules doesn't mean anyone's going to follow it. So our chicken friend, for that reason, is a very cool looking chicken, and also extremely useful. I think for that reason alone, they've got to be a B tier, but below the Roughback. Last, but definitely not least, is one of my favorite ever designs, the Bulwark, or Bulwark. They are extremely cool looking, if that's a pro, and they are absolutely units. The downside being, they are not the brightest, and they are known for being very, very gentle creatures. Whilst they might look intimidating in scale, standing at quite large when compared to a normal human, they are definitely not violent in the slightest, and are in fact nicknamed friendly giants. The pros are, they can produce milk, and they are extremely strong. So you could easily ride these or have these carry many, many bags, even compared to the Roughback. The downside is, you need some source of food for them, and that might just be natural grass or feeding areas. That is very difficult, however, to find everywhere in a wasteland. So you got to kind of balance these out. They are extremely useful for couriers and traders, but they are definitely not something you could feasibly take into zones that are without life. Now, while the term pet might be loose here, these giants that are very, very, very soft are absolutely my S tier. They can carry more than you'd ever need. They produce milk. They can go a long distance. They eat simple food. And if one of them is to get sick or die or get injured, they would feed you for a very, very long time. Also, I think they're quite cute. Now, I want to add more to this list. So, in the comments, give me some ideas for interesting creature ideas or animal ideas. I don't want to just do, for example, a dog, because the reality is I was going to do some art for this video that was in that sort of realm of cats versus dogs. But then I kind of came to this weird moment where I thought, there's already so many dogs in the world, and there's so many designs and mutated dogs and all of this, that I'd rather just design something unique that could be this world's common pet. So if you can think of any cool ideas or interesting animals that you've had in your head sitting away that you'd like to see possibly made for Barren, put it in the comments below. I'm open to any suggestions. I'm still going to fill out this list as the world is built. I love making fauna and animals for the world. I think one of the most fun things is picturing characters and all these things, and then throwing in things like animals, disease, seeing where all these things mix and how the world would look played out. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the more silly idea for a video. I figured let's explore the other things in Barren and not just always explore that kind of shard idea. More videos soon, and I hope you enjoyed this one.